All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this different kind of episode of Written on the Canvas. If this is the first time you're ever watching, my name is Bryan, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 1991 episode of Royal Rumble. Now, we got a request to do this for a little while ago, and seeing as it's the holiday season at the time of this recording, feel like why not give back? All right, so before we talk about this episode, we first got to talk about the Gulf War. Now, by looking at the Wikipedia page, it says the Gulf War was an armed conflict between Iraq and 42 other countries led by the United States. The coalition's efforts against Iraq were carried out in two key phases. Operation Desert Shield, which marked the military buildup from August 1990 to January 1991. And Operation Desert Storm, which began the aerial bombing against Iraq on January 17th, 1991, and came to a close with the American-led liberation of Kuwait on February 28th, 1991. Now you're probably thinking, why am I talking about the Gulf War when I'm supposed to be reviewing a wrestling show? Well, you watch this show, it is all just so pro-American. Like looking at how WWE is nowadays with Saudi Arabia, yeah, it's I doubt they're gonna really be putting much attention on something like this now that we're gonna be having WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. It's just crazy to think of how times changed. But anyways, on to the show. So of course, this show starts with the U.S. anthem, which is honestly surprising. When Vince was in charge and I was a kid, it was always just America the Beautiful. For some reason, he just didn't really like the U.S. anthem. But this one, it wasn't any singing. So, but at this time, I guess Vince is a smart guy. He knew what to do. But speaking of Vince, after the U.S. anthem, it started with Vince naming everybody in the show as well as the matches. And I mean everybody. Everybody gets a name on this. But yeah, it was... Yeah, I can definitely see why Triple H is putting himself on all the promo and everything like that, because that's what Vince did, and Vince made himself an absolute, maybe even the pillar of like, okay, WWE is mine, and now Triple H is I can absolutely see him going why he's doing that. Like, he's learning from the best. But anyways, after all the naming of the wrestlers, we can introduce to our announcers a coked up Roddy Piper and Gorilla Monsoon, who I gotta say are absolutely fantastic on this show. I'm so used to all these announcers where it's just like, okay, this is clearly for the good guys, this is clearly for the bad guys. But yeah, no, like, this is like a really great dynamic. I mean, I don't even know if you can even say Roddy's a heel commentator, because he's not. Like, he's giving people shit all the time, especially the bad guys. So I really think this sort of dynamic was something we need to do more, because Corey Graves, Wade Barrett, I love them so much, but yeah, they're total defense lawyers at this point. But anyways, opening match, the Rockers versus the Orient Express. This was actually a very solid match. Like, very fast, fun-paced action, and also not so fast that we're so used to, like, the sort of fast-paced NXT thing from like 10 years ago. Like there was definitely fast-paced action and very good storytelling in this bout. You can tell that Shawn is definitely the breakout star of that whole cast. But yeah, seriously, great heel work by the Orient Express with Mr. Fuji, and there was this one notable part where I can't tell if it was like a botch, but it kind of seemed like when Shawn and Marty were going up to do the dives off out of the ring, it seemed like Shawn wanted to do it synced, but Marty just jumped, and then Shawn just kind of went for it. But yeah, great solid first match for the first bout of this pay-per-view. Really dope. Really, I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, if we're going to have action like this, I think we're going to have a pretty good pay-per-view. Yeah, the Rockers win via roll-up. So yeah, it was really good. Really good. You can definitely tell that Shawn was the future. Went from the show stopper, first it got to be the show starter. Totally didn't take that from What Culture, by the way. Anyways, we continue the show with good old Randy Savage and his Macho King phase, where he was a bad guy with sensational Sherry. But speaking of Sherry, we have a little bit of the Macho Man talking to the backstage guy. When it then cuts to sensational Sherry, and it was weird, man. Like, Ultimate Warrior was there, and, you know, she was basically just like being all just like, oh, baby, you're so hot. Would you think you would give the Macho King a title match if you win? And at one point, she got on her knees, and everyone was just like, whoa. And Warrior just like, it all just kind of eventually ends with him just being like, blah, no. She kisses him, and you can tell he's into it. You can tell that he's just like, he wants some of that Sherry. But, you know, then the whole like Warrior thing where he's like, no. And then Macho Man gets so pissed and runs out because he rejected his lady. Anyways, so yeah, that was really weird. That was, I don't know. That was, the crowd were kind of feeling it too, but it was just like, all right, whatever. Next match up, we got the Big Boss Man versus the Barbarian with Bobby the Brain Heenan. And, we got big men slapping meat, slappy that meat. Big men, big boys coming at each other like freight trains. It was, honestly, it was a pretty decent match. Especially with Heenan. Like, you can tell the whole story was that Big Boss Man wanted to get to Heenan, but Barbarian was essentially his bodyguard. Kind of like a Jack Swagger, sort of Michael Cole kind of thing going on. But yeah, like Heenan did great work on this, and this is actually, believe it or not, this is my first time I ever watched something with Bobby the Brain Heenan in it, and I always wondered, why is he considered so good? I mean, to be fair, I never went back to watch any of it, but now I'm thinking it's like, from what little he had, I liked it a lot. The match itself was pretty decent, but kind of expected for something again like the Big Boss Man versus the Barbarian. I didn't even know who the Barbarian was before this, but decent match from Boss Man and Barbarian, and Boss Man takes it. Next, we got a backstage promo with Sergeant Slaughter and General Adnan. It really just kind of boils down to Adnan screaming in Arabic and Boss Man making a really silly face, saying that how he's gonna win, and that is an order. And yeah, I could not take that face he was making seriously. I can see why, like, he needed the sunglasses, because like, oh, just let. I don't know. My girlfriend was watching with me, and she just like, she was playing poker while I was watching, and she would just like look up and just like, oh, I hate that guy's voice. It's just like, yeah, that's fair. I don't blame you. But speaking of Sergeant Slaughter, our next match was the WWF Championship with Ultimate Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter, and I was confused. It's just like, why are you putting this match on third? And like, I actually thought like this was like, okay, this third match, and then we have the Royal Rumble match. Okay, not bad. But then when it was over, I paused. I was like, oh, we still got halfway to go. But anyways, a lot of stuff did happen in this match. It was not, I mean, like, the in-ring work, what are you going to expect from Sergeant Slaughter and the Ultimate Warrior? I mean, obviously, legends in their own front, and showing that it's like, you know, storytelling really does mean a lot. And there was a lot of storytelling in this match from not only Sergeant Slaughter and the Ultimate Warrior, but eventually Sensational Sherry and Randy Savage. But anyways, this whole thing starts off with General Adnan and Sergeant Slaughter coming down to the ring with the Iraqi flag, and then Ultimate Warrior comes down, does his whole like warrior thing. They start the bout. Well, actually no, like he comes down and they both try and clothesline him with the flag, and then he just immediately throws Adnan out, and that's all you ever see of him. He then breaks the flag stick with his leg, and then rips the flag, stuffs it in Sergeant Slaughter's mouth. Yeah. Okay, look. It's just kind of funny seeing this sort of thing where they were just like so anti-Middle East around that time, and just so pro-America. And also, like, on throughout the whole night, especially with like the Orient Express, they would just get USA chants. I mean, yeah, like seeing it now, I can see why. But yeah, it was looking at how it is now. It's just funny how where things go. So yeah, after the little bit of back and forth between Warrior and Slaughter, eventually Sensational Sherry comes out to ringside. She then gets attacked by Warrior, where then Savage comes out and attacks Warrior. And of course, Warrior clearly gets gassed halfway through. Sherry then comes out again, gets thrown into Savage, who also came out, and then behind the referee's back, Savage hits him with the scepter. And because of that, Slaughter gets the 1, 2, 3. And after quite a while, you don't really see this sort of thing in wrestling nowadays. And it makes a lot more sense because it's like, it makes the referee the one who makes the decisions, final decision, and there is no one else. So after quite a while, they were just like, after a unanimous decision, the winner is Sergeant Slaughter! And the crowd was pissed. Yeah, sometimes you gotta leave them mad, and they were not happy for this. They were not happy at this. They were chanting bullshit and everything, and I can't blame them. But yeah, whatever. Sometimes you just gotta get over it. All right. After an ad for WrestleMania 7, we then get to the fourth match of Coco Beware versus the Mountie with Jimmy Hart. These guys were just they had no chance. I mean, right after the WWF Championship match, you get Birdman, and I just gotta say, I'm sorry, Lyra Valkyria. Like we called you Bird Lady so many freaking times, But here, Coco Beware is going like this, carrying a parrot to the ring, which, by the way, was the most notable thing about this whole match. Jimmy Hart arguing with a parrot twice. Yeah, these managers back in the day, they were so animated. Like, they were just so top notch. They were about as important as the wrestlers in the ring itself. Yeah, the Mountie wins. I'm gonna say this match sucked. The crowd was so silent for this. Like, not even really silent. They were just like, they were talking throughout themselves. They were not interested in this guy. But yeah, Jimmy Hart arguing with the parrot. Yeah, he definitely deserves the Hall of Fame spot. After that, we get a backstage promo with Randy Savage, and the whole thing is just like, okay, he's running away from the Ultimate Warrior because he's so scared, which, you know, you probably don't need to run that far. I mean, like, he'll run for a little while and then just get completely gassed. You could probably just outrun him just fine, but that was the rest of the kind of story. Like Savage and Warrior throughout was kind of like the underlying story of this whole rest of the pay-per-view, and you'll be able to, and kinda, like, there were actually quite a few different storylines going on, like the next one, but after that segment with Savage, we then get to Sergeant Slaughter, where he's in his regular army getup, and yeah, I can kind of take him a little more seriously on that, but yeah, it was just basically like oh, what did I tell you? I won. But after that, we got the U.S. citizens at the time saying, good luck out there in Saudi Arabia, boys. We couldn't imagine going to Saudi Arabia, and anybody who does are absolutely crazy, and we commend you for it. Okay, all right, okay. All I gotta say is those prices for WrestleMania in Saudi are damn, like. Anyways, after that whole whole war time segment, we then get this sort of like a quick sort of these 30-second promos of all these different wrestlers that are going to be in the Royal Rumble. And I gotta say, what a stacked card for a Royal Rumble. Just to name a few: Jake the Snake, Mr. Perfect, Undertaker, pre-Paul Heyman with fucking Bruce Pritchard's brother Love, and of course the Hulkster Hulk Hogan, who is so freaking American at that point. And yeah, I wonder who's going to win the Royal Rumble. Anyways, we get to our next match, which is essentially one of the big things that had happened. At the time, I just thought it was like a regular sort of like, just a crappy kind of tag team match, and it doesn't really matter. We got the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil against the Rhodes, Dusty and Dustin. And yeah, I gotta say, like, Goldust really saved Dustin's career, because he was just a carbon copy of his dad, which, I mean, that's fair. Your dad is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, especially the second most recognizable athlete in the world. Second only to Muhammad Ali. So, you can't really blame him for trying to just do what his dad was doing. I mean, when we start off, we gotta, learn. And why not learn from the best? But sometimes what works for somebody doesn't work for another person. And with Goldust, yeah, Dustin was flying after that. But here, yeah, he was definitely just Dusty Jr. The big story on this match is, will Virgil finally stop taking all that crap from DiBiase? The match was okay. The match was fine. Nothing really special. There was a miscommunication with Virgil where he accidentally attacked DiBiase. Then DiBiase hit him and then threw him out of the ring. DiBiase then wins the match just out of nowhere. Then he takes the mic and tells Virgil, you put this belt around my waist now. Put the $1 Million Championship on my waist. Virgil is clearly pissed off. He throws the belt to the ground. He's like, you pick that up right now. Virgil then sort of picks him up, and everyone thinks he's going to do that thing where he like hits him in the nuts. But instead, Virgil gets probably the biggest pop of his whole career, where he then hits him with the belt in the face and then just walks away. Everybody's got a price, but everyone's got a limit. And at least for that time, Virgil was an absolute star. Everybody loved Virgil, and Rowdy Piper was just going crazy at this time. And again, Rowdy Piper on commentary is just a wild man. I love it. You can totally tell, like, he might have had a little inspiration, but who didn't around that time? Who didn't? And oh man, like, Rowdy Piper was just so great. And if I'm led to believe, around this time was when Piper took him under his wing and helped him go against DiBiase. Where, again, like, didn't really end up working out all that well, but at least for that time, Virgil was on top of the world. All right, we then go to a backstage promo with the one and only, the not immortal Hulk Hogan, R.I.P. Where, yeah, it was basically just like where he's like, oh, if I got all my Hulkamaniacs in the Saudi Arabia backing me behind, I will take the Royal Rumble match and win. All right, so for this match, I didn't take any notes at all. I just sat down, enjoyed, and I figured anything notable I will remember. And yeah, there was that was a decent Royal Rumble match. You can tell it was in its earlier stages because, like, really stacked names. I mean, like, starting off with Bret Hart and Dino Bravo. We got guys like Jake the Snake Roberts, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jim Duggan, Undertaker. And yeah, like, Undertaker was freaking intimidating back then. And getting rid of Brother Love was definitely the right decision. But yeah, with Brett and Dino starting it off, our Canadian boys, really good start. The one big noticeable thing in this whole match was that number 18 didn't come out. And at first I was confused. It's like, what? What happened? And then around when 30 came out, they were just like, oh, the 18 must have been the Macho King. So again, the story of Macho Man getting ran out of the building, it does make a lot of sense. But at the time, I was just confused. But yeah, there wasn't, and I didn't really remember much of like the match itself. There were a couple of spots. I mean, I do, oh, I remember one of the Bushwhacker Luke, I think it was, like he just went in and then immediately got thrown over the top rope and then like did his regular walk out. Legit, such a stacked card of a match. Such a stacked card, and it then ended with Hogan and his friends. Okay, like ended with Hogan, Brian Knobbs, and Earthquake, and then obviously Brian Knobbs got out there pretty fairly quickly, but yeah, good. It ended with two Canadians, and it also ended with a Canadian. But hey, Hogan won. What else did you expect? Overall, I think it was a pretty solid pay-per-view. 3 hours, but sometimes like it did kind of drag on a little bit. Although the one thing I really do like about this pay-per-view is just this definitely not something that the modern audience is used to, and for fair reason. I mean, everything is so fast-paced nowadays. Some people just like really want to get their spots in. Some people just want to, do moves and everything. But no, like this is pretty decent. But however, like given that I am so used to modern wrestling, like the matches like Big Boss Man and Coco Beware versus the Mountie, they were all right. But no, solid storytelling throughout this pay-per-view, but yeah, hands down, my favorite match of this whole pay-per-view was the Rockers versus Orient Express. Super solid, great match. Overall, I thought it was a pretty decent pay-per-view. It had some really fun-paced action, had some great storytelling, and the commentary was just so refreshing. Just hearing something like Piper and Gorilla Monsoon, and not just Wade Barrett being the biggest kiss ass this world has to ever offer. But what are you gonna do nowadays? Yeah, I would definitely anybody who's looking for a little something different, I would recommend this, and it's especially it's just funny seeing this sort of thing where they're just like so anti-Middle East, as opposed to now where the first WrestleMania outside of North America is going to be in Saudi Arabia. Not the UK, not Australia, nothing like that. Nah, Saudi. This was just very anti-Middle East around that time, especially with the whole Sergeant Slaughter sort of stuff. Just ripping the flag. Can you imagine if they tried ripping a Middle Eastern flag nowadays? Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed this review of 1991's Royal Rumble. My name is Bryan, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.
We love cars, guns, and big old plastic titties. Let's grab a case with piss while stirring. Drink for the USA.